back to the Common Good Show, a program that celebrates a fundamental truth. Life is a beautiful gift full of blessings and trials, learning experiences, and opportunities to grow. This is a show that celebrates the little yet profound influences in our lives that add value, improve our outlook, and encourage us to appreciate everyday blessings from God. These are the conversations that contribute to and highlight the common good as told through the experiences of our special guests. All of our guests share an unwavering commitment to their faith and the acceptance that they are at their very best when God is placed first in their lives. What is the common good, you might ask? Simply stated, it is the sum total of social conditions that allow people, either as a group or individuals, to reach the fulfillment in its entirety. And today I have a very special guest with me, Professor Tom Mathews. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me, for agreeing to come on and just have a chat.
Thank you. It's great. Looking forward to it.
I'll start off with our question, and that's just for you. What is one little thing in your daily life, one common or ordinary thing that to you stands out as proof of God's faithfulness, just a sign of His blessing?
To me, on a daily basis, it is the fact that as a family we stay cohesive, and more importantly, we stay together in reciting the rosary every day. And we've now done this for an extended period of time. So is it okay if I give you some context as to why we got to that point?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
the floor is yours.
So going back to 1999, I was able to achieve a career goal, which was to become a senior vice president at the bank prior to the age of 40. And I was going to be turning 40 that October. My youngest child was born in August. And we thought that everything would be wonderful. Unfortunately, he was born with some serious health issues. So in terms of what is a divine blessing that we get daily, for me, I count it in a single one, good health. Because to me, that is more powerful than anything else that you could have. So thankfully, our child is a miracle child. He survived and is flourishing now, and it's been great from a health perspective. Everything turned around, and of course, our devotion to Our Lady was very significant in getting us that help. We were very committed to that faith in Our Lady, interceded through her to seek help from Christ and from God, and to that end, everything worked out wonderfully. Fast forward about 8 years, and we have another health crisis. And this time it's with my oldest child. And something came out of the blue, very bright young lady, could not figure out what was going on, went to visit numerous specialists when we were living in New Jersey. And then my brother, who's a pediatric surgeon, happened to be visiting us and saw her and said, "This doesn't sound right. Something is not right over here." At the time, he was a faculty member and surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And again, very blessed. He said, "You got to come to Hopkins and meet with the chief of otolaryngology, who's probably one of the best guys in the country." Took our daughter to him, and he was able to figure it out. We had major surgery that had to be done a few months later, and everything was fine. But at that point in time, after those two major crises, I came to the conclusion that there needs to be more about what we do in our conversation with God. And to that end, ever since then, we've been saying the rosary at home daily, without fail. So it's been going on now for 14 years. We say the rosary every day. And to me, that has kept the family in a cohesive unit. It's a time when we are, now of course the kids are in different places, but whoever is home, we're always there for that 15 minutes when we say recite the rosary.
Yeah.
Normally the time is normally 10 p.m.
Oh, it's
so
an
we do it
evening.
at 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yep, and then everyone goes off to bed. But it's a nice way to close out the day.
Yeah.
So for us, the fact that we have done that and the fact that it continues to inspire us and keep us together, and knock wood, health has not been that much of an issue since that time. So,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
it doesn't mean that we haven't had bumps in the road.
Of course.
But to me, that really has kept us very centered.
Yeah.
For me especially, and I think has kept our family very centered too. So,
Yeah. I love that too. At the end of the day, have you ever had someone fall asleep on you?
no, nobody can fall asleep.
Okay. You make sure.
Yeah.
Make sure that
they're
no-
all good to go at that time.
That's nice.
Yeah, actually, my wife sometimes closes her eyes and I say, "Oh, are you still paying attention?" And she says, "Yes, I'm paying attention." Yeah.
Praying with her eyes closed.
Yeah,
Very
right.
sincere.
Which is very sincere. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the fact too, at the end of the day, because it gives you guys one, like you said, it's an opportunity to quiet your mind and whatnot before going off to bed.
Right.
But it also is kind of that like check in the box. 'Cause I think evenings can get away from us really quickly.
Correct, exactly,
And so
yeah.
we can just find ourselves like, oh, it's 9:30, 10:30. Oh shoot, it's almost midnight.
Right.
But if you guys have that set time, you have to be on top of everything.
Correct,
To make sure your work's done and all that whatnot.
Yep, exactly. And we would, adjust things around.
Of course.
We always try to eat dinner together, but that, a function of what the kids are doing. But at least for this, by 10 o'clock, even if they had soccer practice or tennis practice,
Yeah.
I mean, that should all be done. They should just be home, either doing their homework or take a break from homework and, we spend some time.
Yeah.
So,
How many children do you have?
3.
3. Okay. And they
I
are
have a
how
daughter
old?
and 2 boys.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so my daughter is, she just finished her second doctorate, and she did a PhD in biomechanics at the University of Delaware. And the second one, he's a bioengineer. He works for Arthrex here in Ave Maria.
Yeah.
And then my youngest is going to be a senior at FGCU. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
What's the youngest man looking to do? Does he have any?
He's an accounting major.
Okay.
And he will very likely move back up to New Jersey once he graduates.
Following dad's footsteps.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the major, but in that general
yeah.
direction.
Yeah, no, he's doing well. Yeah.
Okay.
And we are just so blessed. I mean, it's the prognosis when he was born was not great, but we stayed true to our faith. We believed in divine intervention.
Yeah.
It took place, and we have nothing but thanks in return. So.
Aside from the rosary, is there any other like daily routine that either you as an individual have to like keep you connected with God and on track, or you as a family, or you and your wife? Or?
So probably the most important thing that I do when I drive to work, and I have about a 25, 30-minute drive,
Yeah.
there's no radio. It's just simply silence, in my car, and letting thoughts flow through you.
Yeah.
Just like inside, I kind of say the rosary myself.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, and it's very calming. And I try to make sure that at the end of the ride, I have more positive thoughts than negative thoughts, because I need to go and teach students.
Right.
I need to have a positive frame of mind. I need to be encouraging students. I can't walk into a classroom with negative thoughts, because
Right.
that can be very easily picked up by everyone, and it's not going to serve the purpose that I want to serve.
Naturally, yeah. So you've had an incredibly impressive career.
Thank you.
Honestly, and when you go into the classroom then to teach these kids, and obviously faith has played a big part in not only just your family's health, but in your life altogether.
Yeah.
I know for me, at least when I was in college, still very much trying to fine tune my spiritual radar,
Right.
and still working on that now.
Right.
But definitely in college classes, and I was playing a sport at the time. Is there something in particular when you're either teaching or going one-on-one with a student that, through your experience at work, but also knowing the importance of faith in your life, is there some sort of disposition that you try to like adopt when you begin these conversations, or when you're teaching class, or?
Right. First of all, is just respect for all individuals.
Yeah.
And that's really important, so that whenever I am asking a question or responding, yes, many of these kids are, I said I'm a geezer. Many of these kids are 40 years younger than me. my response to them whenever I finish it is always ma'am or sir. I never, and unless I'm calling them out by their first name because I want them to answer a question, but I'm always very respectful of them.
Yeah.
And to that end, what I have found is that they have been very respectful of me.
Yeah.
And especially as we've gone through this COVID crisis, they would be the first ones to reach out to me and say, Professor, I'm not feeling well. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I just want to let you know that I'm going to either watch your class online or not come to class at all because I'm very respectful and I don't want to put you in any harm's way. And to me, that is showing the two-way, right?
Yeah.
I respect them as an individual, even though they are learning from me, but they therefore respect me as an individual too. The other way in which I convey as much of my spiritual background or my faith-based background is by telling them stories. And I tell stories about my life. I don't tell anybody else's stories, right? Because my life is what I can tell stories about.
Right.
I've lived in it. I've been in these shoes. I don't want to try and tell somebody else's stories because I've not been in their shoes.
Right.
And it'll only just be an interpretation, right? And through that, I try to show them that it's really important to help others. Just be good.
Yeah.
You know, the one tenet that I've used ever since I read the Essential Writings of Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
So there's a great little quote from Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
From silence comes prayer. From prayer comes faith. From faith comes love. From love comes charity. And from charity comes peace. So I'm trying my darndest to get to peace because I'm being very charitable. I mean, my 2-minute elevator speech is helping others succeed. That's it. I have 3 words in what I'm doing right now.
That's amazing.
But my God, it's really, really hard to get to peace. So, you know, I started with silence. I take time for myself.
Of course.
I pray. That's translated into faith. I don't envy anybody. I don't hate anybody. People come and I help them out. So that's the love part of it. I'm involved in charity, but my God, peace is a very, very eluding factor. But I know I need to keep at it.
Yeah.
And that is the only way that you can get there. And there's no question in my mind that sequence has to follow.
Yeah.
So I had a student come by a couple of days ago, and she's getting ready for an interview.
Okay.
And so she said, Professor, can you help me to just get prepped for it?
Yeah.
So I gave her some prep items and things like that. And at the end, I wrote out on a piece of paper, and I said, I didn't make this up. I'm not smart enough to make this up. But I got this from Mother Teresa. So I gave it to her, and she read it, and she said, wow, that's really, really amazing. And I said, and I prefaced it by saying, look, I'm Christian and I'm very Catholic. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just giving this to you from one human being to another, because I think it should be part of your life if you want it. And she took it very open-minded, and she said, I'm Christian, I'm not Catholic. And I said, that's completely cool. But I think this will be useful for you.
Yeah.
And you know, she's a young lady, 20-something-year-old, very dynamic, very interested in helping other people, in improving her career. And she took it from me, and she said, thank you. So I said, okay. I think it has worked. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out in 20 years when I see her again, and I see, Amanda, what have you done? Did you follow any of that? And she'll say yes or no, and we'll find out then.
And you'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of one of the things that it's not only like from charity to peace and whatnot, but that's like an aspect of love too, because it's, again, like you said, you're not giving it to her because you're trying to convert her, but it's just an extension of that love and that care for somebody.
Correct,
and
exactly.
Trying to do your best.
Yeah, just one human being to another.
Yeah.
You know, and I think at a very fundamental level, I'd heard this a long time ago from someone. He told me that even if you cannot help somebody, never go out of your way to intentionally harm somebody. So at least the worst that you would have done is that you didn't help.
Yeah.
But you did not go out of your way to intentionally harm somebody, because that is bad. And at some point you will have to respond to it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have a good response.
No.
I don't think so. I've lived.
not.
I've lived a few years, but I've still to come up with, why did I go out? What would be my response if somebody said, "Why did you go out and intentionally try to harm that person?"
Yeah.
I don't think there is an answer. There isn't an answer. At least not to me. There isn't an answer. And so why even go down that path? If you can't come up with an answer, just don't go down that path. Just don't do anything to anybody to harm them intentionally. Yeah.
I want to build off of that.
Sure.
Because this is something, especially, I think we would continue to walk through our entire life, but I think it's something that it's a situation we not often, but we can find ourselves having stumbled into.
Right.
When you unintentionally harm somebody,
Right.
while you're trying to, whether you were trying to help or whatnot. What would you do in that situation? What would, obviously it would depend on what it is.
Right.
But
even though I would put that in a slightly different category,
Okay.
I would do everything I can to make it up.
Yeah.
And you will need to go the extra mile. You will need to go above and beyond to remedy the situation. Because the worst thing, to me, one of the greatest joys at a personal level is sleep. I
won't argue with that.
I love my uninterrupted sleep.
Okay.
And if something of that kind is going to prevent you from going to sleep well, and sleep for that period of time that you want to, or waking you up in the middle of the night, you need to do something to remedy it. Because there is no greater activity in life than sleep. Because at the end of the day, if you do not rest, your body has no ability to regenerate.
Right.
You get sick. The only way you truly, yes, there are medications, but truly the way in which you come back is through rest.
Right.
Just look at an animal, right? An animal doesn't have any shelter, nothing. But if they are injured, the only way that they recover is through rest. And we as human beings, for some reason, we've forgotten that. We think that we can just go to a doctor and get some kind of medicine.
Something.
Yeah, and it is going to just, the snap of a finger, turn it around. But we forget that we really need to rest. So that's why I love my sleep. I truly, truly enjoy sleep. And so anything that is going to preclude my ability to enjoy my sleep, I must remedy that before I hit the sack.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. No, and that's it's a primal, very, you can't get away from that.
It's very fundamental to our existence.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can't walk away from it. The guy upstairs, when he was thinking, he really thought about this very, very carefully. I don't think that he did it just in 7 days, to be honest. I think he thought about it for years and years before he said, this is the way I should fashion the human.
Yeah.
And if we therefore don't respect it, we don't pay attention to it, then we're not quite respecting the fact that the guy upstairs really spent a lot of time thinking about this.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, absolutely knew what he was doing. Yeah, and the longer I live, the more I realize that he absolutely knows what's going on.
Yeah. And to kind of bring it back to the Mother Teresa's path towards that final piece, just to make it very anatomical, if you're not rested, you're not going to be peaceful.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah.
And so, one of the reasons, at least for me, I think, and you can kind of give me your feedback and thoughts on this. Part of the reason peace can be so elusive, not just in a group as a whole or society as a whole, but even for each person, is because you and I sitting across from each other, we have completely different. We might have some similarities in terms of our faith and whatnot, but I have a completely different life experience.
Sure.
And so, in my way of loving and being charitable, I have no idea what it is that deep in your soul that you need in order to in order to achieve that peace. The only thing that I know for certain is that being loving and being kind will pierce, and it may take 40 years. It may take just one sentence. You never know. But with each person, it's so different. Correct.
And it's and peace for you is going to be different for peace for me, right? And the more I have experienced life, I try as best as I can to only give advice if it is solicited. If it is not solicited, I try to avoid doing it. Of course, I do it with my kids, but my kids are like, all right, Dad, I understand, you know. But the more I've lived life, I've realized if I have not walked in somebody else's shoes, be a little bit more respectful when you give them advice, or you're telling them you should do this and you should do that, because you don't know what they have gone through. And I have a lot of friends who have been very, very successful in life, and every so often I ask myself the question: do I want to be like that? Do I want to be that person?
Right.
Do I envy anything of what that person has accomplished, because they've accomplished a great deal? And I step back and I say to myself, my God, the blessings that I have, I've been so blessed. Why do I need what they have? I don't need that. And furthermore, I have not walked in their shoes. What I see is what they tell me, and what I read from the body language and the face language.
Right.
But deep down, I don't know what they have experienced and what they have walked in. So to me, it's always, you are so blessed. Just be completely content and just move on and do good things, and just stick with the quote of Mother Teresa, and try to get to peace. Because if you can do that, that'll be pretty amazing.
If you can get to peace, you're on the right track.
You're absolutely on the right track. And you will be in a very, very, very tiny minority, because that is very eluding.
Especially if you're striving towards peace, because it's one thing to want it, but an even smaller minority to be actually pursuing that.
Correct, exactly.
And I had one of those heart check moments recently, in the past couple of months, where I think it's very natural just for men in general, because as far as like trying to be a leader for your family and whatnot, obviously I'm not there yet, but trying to figure things out and solve stuff and whatnot, I just love to help and to do things and to get things done.
Right.
But sometimes, like you were saying, if it's unsolicited, just hush.
Yes.
And for me, it was one of those moments where I kind of realized, like, ooh, I'm kind of being, like, there's a level of pride and arrogance in there, thinking that, like, for me, this is what's worked for me. This is how I did it. And so that's how I perceive based on what I know of the other person. And again, is only what they've shown me.
Sure.
I'm like, this is how it needs to be done. But the Holy Spirit was really just like, he's like, no.
Yeah.
And I was,
yeah, right. And that's a good term that you used, Dan, which is about the arrogance, where you're thinking that you can tell them what is better for them, and you really do need to take a step back. And I think, as you know, when Christ used to preach, he very rarely, I believe, said to people, "This is what you must do." He says, "Let me give you my perspective, and I'm encouraging you to do this. You may not want to do it, but based on what I know and based on the connection with the gentleman upstairs, this is what I'm suggesting to you." And I truly believe that that's the way you're going to accomplish whatever you have set out to do. When I look at the heroes, in my view, some of the heroes, starting off with Christ, which is completely still blows my mind, right? He never went to a high school. He never went to college. He never went to a university. He didn't travel more than about 200 miles from the place where he was born.
Yeah.
And I didn't make up all this. Okay, Jim Bishop said this in a song before he sang Holy Night. He never held political office. He didn't own a home. For crying out loud, he only had like 3 pieces of clothing that were truly his name, right? And his sandals. Yeah. He really didn't have anything else. But his influence on the world far exceeds anything, as he said, of all the parliaments that have ever sat in England, all the kings that have ever reigned, all the navies that have ever been built. None of them have had that kind of impact on humankind.
Yeah.
So I start with him, and then I go down to the Buddha. And the Buddha, when he had renounced everything, he basically had 3 sets of garments, 2 bowls, one bowl for rice and veggies, and the other bowl which contains a filter, so that if he has to get water out of a stream, it is filtered and he doesn't get sick. And he had his sandals. Mahatma Gandhi, and given my Indian background, and I studied so much about him, had very few belongings.
Yeah.
And Mother Teresa had her room and she had a desk. JP too had very little too. So I'm saying to myself, okay, why did these individuals, or what made it possible for these individuals to have such an impact on humankind? And to me, at a very core, they had stripped away everything else and stayed true to one theme or one goal or one idea.
Yeah.
And so therefore, they were not worrying about, what should I be raising the premium that I pay on my car insurance in case I get hit, my car gets hit? Or should I be worrying about getting more insurance on my house? Or should I be doing X, Y, and Z, which are also material in nature, right? But they were able to stay true to their goal because everything else was stripped away. It made life so easy for them.
There was nothing there.
There was nothing there to worry about. They just had to focus on their goal, right? And so for me, I would love to be in that place, but I don't think that my wife and kids would like me to be in that place. So it's do you understand how?
Yeah.
And so to me, all of those things, I believe, are what are taking me away from that peace component that I'm striving towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in some sense, there's a part of that piece that, well, I know that we will never reach at least
right.
here.
Yeah. It's,
but I definitely get that, and I feel that. And one thing, and I shared this with you before, but like one of my goals in life are to have a family and to help people. And for a while, like I've been very, very happy with, very at peace. I'm joyful with my circumstances. Obviously, emotions go all over the place.
Correct.
But I had a conversation with my dad a couple of years ago about like basically that challenge of I want a family and that sort of thing, and I want to provide for them, and I want to be able to travel with them and do this sort of stuff.
Right.
But there's also that innate desire to just be like, put me in a room with some food and like, and that's it. And I feel like that's like, I was like, I feel like that's the best way that I can like connect to God. And I'm glad you mentioned your wife and your kids, because my dad was like, listen, it's like, yeah, you could do it that way. That's one way to do it. He's like, but also like, the vocation of marriage is no joke either.
That's right,
and it's
it is not to be taken lightly at all. Yeah. And it's because you are, through that vocation of marriage, you are making a commitment to help others. Yeah. And probably the most important is take care of others. Yeah. And that's a big challenge. And it upsets me when I come across individuals who forget that you're taking care of others. Yeah. That's what Mother Teresa has done. I mean, she has committed herself to making sure that the leper on the street or the homeless person on the street is going to be better off tomorrow rather than today because of my intervention, right? And so that's what, you're a young gentleman, and it needs to be taken very seriously. And it upsets me when people tend to walk away from it and they just say, oh, I've taken care of them for so long and now I'm done. I want to do everything. No, that was a commitment that you made, and you need to see it through. And yes, there are times when it can be extremely challenging, and you're juggling a lot of balls and
a lot of scary health issues.
Yeah, a lot of things that you're juggling, but you got to just be grown up about it.
Yeah, that's in more words than one. That's pretty much what the conclusion my dad came to. He was like, "Suck it up." pretty much. Like if
Right.
that's what you're gonna
Exactly,
do,
yeah,
you're gonna
yeah.
deal. Like yeah, exactly. It's a commitment, and there's things that come along that you can never anticipate.
Yeah, and there are plenty of good moments, and there are plenty of not so good moments, and you just roll with the punches, so to speak. I mean, for instance, yes, I had a lot of responsibility, raising the 3 children, but the one thing that I now miss, and I've said this every so often to my wife, it's priceless. I just want to be able to hold my kids when they were little and just hug them, right?
Yeah.
But it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. I mean, I'm not quite sure that they want to be hugged like that. Because I just like pull them towards me.
Right.
B, my 2 boys are way bigger than me, so it's not going to happen.
Maybe hugging up a
Yeah,
little.
right, exactly. But it is a moment in your life that you should never forget, but treasure, because they don't come back. That's what I'm realizing. So now when I talk to young individuals and they're just having children and they've got little ones at home and they say, oh my God, another sleepless night or whatever it is, I'm saying, you have no idea what is going to happen. Fast forward 20 years and you're saying, oh, couldn't I just hug this little one? Just hold them close to me, or have them fall asleep on my chest. It's like the most amazing thing, Dan.
And I love that. I love that. And I think part of it ties back into what you were saying before about, in a way, being in the moment. The same as serving whatever it is that's laid out in front of you.
Correct.
Because it's when things get really challenging, it can be easy to just be like, I've done it for so long, this and that. And in the same sense, like with the kids, it's like, oh man, this is like, all right, 5th night in a row. Or I haven't slept.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in the simplicity, to make a big topic or a big example like the Buddha or Gandhi, like down to something into our daily lives, what they did with their entire life, we have the opportunity to do like you with your children, where in that moment, it's only about them.
Yes, that's true.
That's the focus.
Yeah.
And in that sole focus and that love and that charity and that serving and giving of yourself for that other person, I think then we start to taste a little bit of that peace.
That peace, exactly.
And that's when like the real fullness of life. It's like
Right.
only in giving that away.
That's right.
That we finally get that little.
That's true. And one of my favorite photos, this is my youngest one. He was probably about 3 years old, so he was in that
That's awesome.
stage where he was almost fully recovered from all of his issues.
Okay.
And it's a picture of him like giving me this hug with unbridled love. It's like one of my favorite pictures because it is so, to me, it just tells me that this is a kid, just in hugging his dad because he wants to, not because I'm asking him to.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm sure that was a moment of peace for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amazing peace. So
I like that, and I think about a lot of times when Christ tells us to come to Him like children, and
Yes.
to love Him like children.
Exactly.
And what a perfect example of that's
just go to Him without any prejudice. And it's so hard for us to do that because there is so much that we prejudge about people. Just go to Him and just say, okay, no judgments. I don't come with any vested interest, nothing. What can we talk about? And just have that conversation with Him. And he might just ramble. He'll probably just take you on a bunch of different paths and he'll bring you back eventually. But I think that's a great way to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
And so I try, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing in any interaction with people, in any interaction, whether it's a student or whatever it is, don't come with any prejudgments. Don't get away from all prejudices.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it makes the conversation so much easier.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more open.
Yeah.
I think it comes away with a much more constructive conversation. And always about win-win. How do you win, Dan, and how do I win, right? And if you go into any conversation, any discussion, whatever it is, with that kind of approach, because that's what Christ said. I'm giving you this, you're going to win, and I'm going to win, right? And the same thing with JP2, the same thing with Mother Teresa. everybody, all of them, it was, you're going to win and I'm going to win. And if we can have that win-win, then it's golden, you know.
Those moments of win-win, especially when you're in communion with somebody, whether it's just a conversation or something like that,
Right.
are extremely undervalued in the sense of it's not just something that happens. You have to make it like
You got to work for it.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. I'm curious, is there a point in time where you were walking through something with somebody or with work, whether it's family or friends or whatnot, where you, in the moment, you're like, you kind of just step back and you're like, all right, Tom, I'm in over my head and I have no idea how this is going to go well.
Right.
But looking back on it, you're like, praise the Lord that happened the way it did.
Yes.
Because of this is where it led me.
That's right. And I've more often than not, I've been in conversations where I'm discussing a proposal or something like that in my role at work.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, I need to walk away from here with a signature, right? How can I make that happen? Is somebody going to help me out here, please? Because it's not the person across the table. And then I'm saying to myself, okay, concede a little bit. That's what the guy upstairs would be telling you to do, right? Just concede a little bit, and then you can walk away. And I think that by giving in that little bit, but realizing that over the long haul, it's still going to turn into that win-win kind of situation, it's completely okay. You know, because it all, as I say, it all comes out in the wash.
Okay. Giving a little bit to the other person.
Yep.
Right up front.
That's right. Or as you're going through the negotiation process.
Sure.
Because you know because you have walked in there, you've done all your due diligence, and you've walked in there and you're saying, this is what I must walk away with.
Right.
Right.
You have your line.
Right, exactly. So what can I do? And if there are times when I need to make adjustments, just go for it. Just concede it. Go for it, because you know that you will have achieved your goal, and that person will walk out of the room saying, I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
You walk out of the room saying, I got what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it's mutually, beneficial to both. And so the next time they see you in the corridor, they're not going to say, I hate your face or I hate your guts because you tried to do some harm to me. No, they're going to say, okay, next project comes along, it'll be great.
Next project comes like, oh, hey, Tom, it was great working with him last time.
That's right, exactly.
Is there something in particular that, because you have, an incredible career of banking, trading, and now teaching, and plenty of other things in there as well,
right.
But just to highlight three, what's something that you're most proud of?
What I am most proud of is the fact that I made a significant decision which affected me at a financial level, but it is the best phase of my life now, where I'm just thoroughly enjoying giving for the sake of giving.
Yeah.
When I talk to my superiors at work, or when I'm on the board of the CFA Society Naples, I do some other work in financial literacy and things like that. We're doing work with the Guadalupe Center in Immokalee with financial literacy. I always say to them up front, I have no ulterior motive. I don't want your job. I don't want any of your money. I don't want any more money. I'm simply doing this to help you and to help other people. And to me, it is absolutely the best thing that I'm doing. Because, as I said, I'm trying to live that charity piece, because I am determined somehow, with somebody's blessings, and hopefully maybe Mother Teresa is hearing me saying this, I really, really want to get to that piece. And so if charity is what is required, I've done all of the other stuff, but maybe I need to do more of it. I don't know. She's probably saying, you haven't done enough. You're not even close. You think that you have, but you're not even close. So don't be so arrogant. But I'm really driving, and to me, that is, I just, as I keep saying, I've said this to you 3 times already, I'm the most blessed and the luckiest person. Almost all of my life, I've done what I wanted in my career, and I've had great mentors. I have had people who appreciated what I did. That's not to say that I didn't work hard. I've always turned on the lights in the morning and turned off the lights at night. but more importantly, they've appreciated it. And to me, that to me is like divine intervention. These are people who didn't need to do this for me. Do you know what I'm saying? But they saw something in me. I was genuine. I was willing to work hard. I was committed to the cause. I never made them look bad. I would never do that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I always remember that.
Them.
You never want to make your boss look bad. But at the end of the day, it has permitted me to come to this point. Yeah. And for now, according to my horoscope, I now have another 25 years to live. So I count every day as being, this is something that I must do because I don't have that much time.
Yeah.
But I must do it, and I must do it really, really well. So.
God, yeah, the horoscope might say one thing, and then tomorrow God goes, all right, bringing you home.
Yeah, right, exactly. It could be. I mean, he always has the power to change that, But
is there something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please go ahead.
For somebody who's trying to walk through their faith and trying to grow and trying to build, a career, and they could be in anywhere. What would be like 2 or 3 pieces of, whether it's just mantras or some sort of advice, but what's like 2 or 3 things that you would tell anybody? And now I am inquiring of this, so you can give your advice.
Okay. So the first thing is, life is all about building bridges. I have built a bridge with you. I've built a bridge with all of my students, bridges with all of my students. I have bridges built with my family and friends and relatives.
I love that language.
Yeah, but you must build bridges, but most importantly, you have to learn to maintain them. Because a bridge built without maintenance is a bridge that's going to fall. So you must maintain your bridges, okay? First thing.
Yeah.
Second, treat everyone with respect. Whether it is and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but whether it is the janitor or the person sweeping the sidewalk, all the way to the president of your company or whoever it is, don't hold prejudices anywhere along the line. Treat them all with respect. That's really important, because I learned this when I first started working at the first bank. I wanted to meet with a gentleman who was very unapproachable and very hard to get at, mainly because he was about 5 levels above me, and he was a busy gentleman.
Yeah.
But I learned that by becoming good friends with the gatekeeper, I could get to him. So a lady who was his executive secretary, who most people didn't consider all that important because she was way down in the, I mean, she was even lower than me in the hierarchy, right? I always said hello to her. I always dealt with her with great respect. And because of that, whenever I wanted to meet her boss,
no problem.
No problem. And others would say, how the heck did you manage to get that meeting with him? I said, well, first of all, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning because he starts work at 7. So I said, I'll have a meeting with him at 7. Yeah. But even that was hard to do.
Sure.
But by becoming good friends and respecting the gatekeeper, I was able to get the door open. Okay, so that's really important, respecting other people. Third is, you must work hard, whatever it is that you're doing, okay? And you can't just say, Christ or the God above is going to help me out. No, you need to work hard. I mean, it's right in the Bible. It's right in the gospel. It's, Christ says that. Folks, you need to find a way to get yourself fed and clothed and have a roof over your head, right? And the last, and probably the most important, you must always engage in prayer, whether it's daily, weekly, no more than, it shouldn't be less frequently than weekly, but you must engage in prayer. And to me, that has been a huge, huge binding piece for me. It always keeps me centered. And it's hard to tell young people the importance of that, but you got to do that.
You have to pray.
Without a doubt. And, I just, after the towers came down in, 9/11 towers, and I was very fortunate that I wasn't in the towers, but I came home and stuff like that without any wounds or anything like that. Ever since then, it's the rosary, at least for me personally, I would say the rosary. And then after, starting in 2007, after the second health crisis, it's a family prayer as well. So.
That's amazing.
But you got to do it. There's absolutely no way around it.
Building bridges, respecting every single person.
Working hard.
Working hard.
And praying.
And praying as if your life depended on it.
Yep, absolutely.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And that, you know, that does it for our time as well. So I think that's a perfect way to put a cherry on top of it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, for talking, for sharing all of that. I appreciate you making the time this morning and just, kind of imparting all of that wisdom on us. So.
Oh, I hope it's helpful.
Absolutely, and I hope so too for everyone listening and watching. So just a massive thank you again to Guadalupe Roastery, for the host of the show, and the Maria Vision as well for helping us put this program together. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in our next episode.